Chapter 1057, The Extraordinary and the Ordinary. After dealing with the mutated glass bottle, Klein took out his golden pocket watch, opened it, took a look, and took note of the time. He had to return 3 hours later and separate the unshadowed crucifix from the bottle of slavery. Only then could he obtain a single manipulator's Beyonder characteristic, and not a product that was mixed with the previous sequence's Beyonder characteristics. It feels like I'm doing an experiment. Klein nodded slightly, put away his pocket watch, and returned to the real world where he had his actual afternoon nap. At 4 in the afternoon, his valet, Inuni, knocked on his employer's door under butler Walter's watch. "What's the matter?" In his pajamas, Dwayne Dantes rubbed his forehead and opened the bedroom door. Inuni bowed and said, "Sir, you accepted Madame Rihanna's invitation for high tea the night before. It's today." Klein looked at butler Walter and said, "All right, give me 15 minutes to prepare." Then he instructed his valet, Inuni, "Come in and help me change my clothes." When only he and his marionette were left in the room, he controlled the latter to bring out clothes suitable for high tea, taking glances at the wall clock from time to time. After about 10 minutes, after tying his bow tie and putting on his coat, he took 4 steps counterclockwise and headed above the gray fog. At that moment, 3 hours had passed since he last entered. Placed at the end of the long bronze table, the mutated glass bottle, which had been firmly bound to the unshadowed crucifix with the gray fog's power, no longer had the twinkling mesh, looking as though it went from being a piece of art to a common item on the street. At the bottom of the glass bottle was a large amount of grayish-white matter that had been purged. It flowed freely, forming a heart-shaped object the size of a child's fist. Not only were there wrinkles on it, but there were also cracks that resembled eyes. As for the complicated, three-dimensional, illusory patterns, labels, and symbols that extended into the void, they were nearly identical to H. Vin Rambus's Beyonder characteristic that Klein had seen from before. "It's just a little different." Klein released the gray fog suppression and took out the unshadowed crucifix from the bottle mouth. With this step, the item that was purged out was completely separated from the mutated glass bottle, becoming complete and independent. Klein reached out his left hand to pick up the item that resembled both a heart and a brain, and after examining it for a few seconds, he threw it into the junk pile and allowed the gray fog to envelop it. At this moment, a weak voice sounded from the mutated glass bottle. "You devil." Klein didn't respond as he thrust the unshadowed crucifix back in with his right hand, using the power of the gray fog to press down on it. And with that, the ancient palace returned to its tranquil state. After returning to the real world, Klein put on his top hat, held his cane, and left 160 Bachland Street on his carriage. He headed for Member of Parliament Mac's residence at Unit 39. Inside an elegant activity room at Member of Parliament Mac's house, a few guests sat around an intricate three-tiered tray. In front of them was a cup of charming black tea. Klein took a small cucumber sandwich and took a small bite. Half-jokingly, he shared his true feelings. The desserts today seem very unique, be it the carrot cake or cream puffs. Mac laughed when he heard that. "Dwayne, your observation skills are truly impeccable." "This has nothing to do with one's observation skills. As long as one isn't blind, it's impossible not to tell that the shapes are all banged up." He lampooned silently before saying, "It sounds like something remarkable. Of course, it's personally made by Hazel. You can try it later. Although she can't control its appearance effectively, it really does taste good," Mac said proudly. By the side, Portland Moment, who was the Backlund University of Technology's chancellor, laughed and said, "This doesn't sound like the Hazel I know." Mac glanced at Ma'am Rihanna and said in satisfaction, "Everyone grows up right. Hazel has really matured recently. Not only is she willing to learn those classes in preparation for socializing and marriage that she used to hate, and occasionally makes desserts and plays music for us, but she'll also frequently offer to accompany her mother to attend musicals, horse racing matches, shop at the departmental store, and listen silently by the side at all kinds of saloons and balls. According to Miss Justice, Hazel's treatment progress has reached a point where she can recall the terrible shock and pain she had suffered, Although it's just a direct sense of the emotions and doesn't involve the exact sequence of events, it's enough to make her dream of losing her parents and relatives. This made her learn to cherish her family. For this, she has decided to change herself to a certain extent. Klein nodded in thought and said with a smile, "That's excellent." "Indeed," Macht replied while full of emotion, "I was worried about her personality, worried that she wouldn't have a good marriage and be unable to date people in our circle. After we pass away, she wouldn't be able to find help when faced with difficulties. But now, I can finally feel at ease." Macht revealed a sincere smile as he revealed his worries that he seldom divulged. He raised his arm and waved it gently. Then he said with great confidence, "Why am I making an enemy out of the bloody smog and pollution? Why do we have to fight over the colonies in East Balam with Fasak and the West Balam with Intis? Isn't it to let our children lead a better life, so that we have fewer worries? To me, Hazel's maturity is greater than the contributions I made at East Balam, far more meaningful than my fights in the House of Commons." As Klein listened to Macht's recount, he couldn't help but look out the window. It was dark outside, and the sun was gone. At this moment, Portland Moment replied to Macht jokingly, "No, those things are for our own good." At this point, he looked at Klein and said, "Dwayne, have you thought about it? Do you want to invest in my mechanical laboratory?" Klein let out a soft chuckle. "Mr. Chancellor, why are you still so anxious like a young man? I've already read through the information you gave me and have a rough impression of the rights and revenue. Frankly speaking, I'm very interested. To let talented young adults obtain training at such a mechanical laboratory is greatly satisfying. This should be something we invest in. What's most valuable in this day and age? Talents. Emperor Roselle once said that." Portland Moment chuckled. "So, how much do you intend to invest?" Dwayne raised his porcelain cup and drank a mouthful of black tea. "The initial plan is £10,000. As expected of the most famous tycoon in Backland recently, I can't even guess how many assets you have. First, you donated more than £10,000 of shares, then you spent £20,000 buying Mager Manor, and now you're donating £10,000 to the Portland Mechanical Laboratory." Ma'am Rihanna couldn't help but exclaim. Portland Moment gave a thumbs up. "This is a truly keen investor." Klein smiled and said, "But I'll still find a team formed by lawyers and accountants to verify the actual situation and stipulate the conditions. Professional matters should be left to the professionals. Besides, I still have to consider investing directly or first establish a company or foundation and complete the investment through it. Oh, Portland, I think there's one aspect that you didn't take into consideration. How can such an important laboratory not have any security measures? Aren't you afraid of commercial spies or foreign powers infiltrating and causing destruction?" Portland Moment was taken aback as he slowly nodded. "That makes sense. I previously neglected this problem." Having accomplished his goal, Klein no longer harped on the topic. Instead, he deliberately asked, "Has there been news regarding Brigadier General Konas Kilgore?" Macht sighed and said, "No, Civilhouse Yard said that Mager Manor and the surrounding areas have been searched. They didn't even find any leads." As he spoke, the House of Commons Member of Parliament lowered his voice and said, "I suspect that the Brigadier General had an accident while carrying out a secret mission. The current mood of the higher-ups has been a little strange." "From a certain point of view, you guessed right," Klein sighed. "I hope nothing happens." Amidst high tea, Klein took note of the time and went to the bathroom. Above the gray fog, he placed the Dreamwalker characteristic into the junk pile that seeped out of the mutated bottle. By the time high tea ended and he returned to 160 Bachland Street, the sky had already darkened. The street lamps on both sides of the road were lit up ahead of time as the rain pattered down the carriage windows. Now all the questions are concentrated on what's hidden in the Blood Emperor's ruins. As long as the three churches discover the problem in time, they can prevent many things from happening. Klein looked out at the street lamps that looked blurry from the rain as he considered the recent developments. For now, apart from capturing Katerina, I can't provide much help. Furthermore, the goddess is digesting or controlling death's uniqueness. She might not have the power to provide a response at that level. To solve this problem, I either get a grade 0 sealed artifact with a targeted effect from the Holy Cathedral, or I rely on the Church of Steam and Storms, and see which one of the true deities will respond. A grade 0 sealed artifact might not be enough since it involves a king of angels, and there might be traitors amidst the two churches. Traveling from 39 Bachland Street to Unit 160 didn't take long. Before Klein could straighten out his thoughts, he had already returned to his doorstep. He had no choice but to get off the carriage. When he changed his clothes on the third floor, his spiritual perception was triggered. He saw Rionette Tinker walk out of the void with 4 blonde, red-eyed heads in hand. "It's from Sharon," a guess came to him as he received the letter. "That's right," one of the heads held by Rionette Tinker replied. Without another word, Klein opened the envelope and unfurled the piece of paper. There was only one line on it: "Will take action at 10 tonight."